All right, well, hopefully that video helped to clarify some of the reasons why breastfeeding might be so important for protection against obesity. And then other things that have to do with parenting have to do with, how many, I put TV because it takes up less space on a PowerPoint slide, but really any screen time, sitting still and watching something is what should be in that spot. Consumption of sugary sodas, not getting enough exercise, and then family eating habits. Typically, what we find is that families who have overweight children have overweight parents, and a lot of it does come down to what they're eating, not necessarily even how much they're eating, but what they're eating. The caloric nutritional values of the foods that they're consuming. And so a lot of times families have these habits of things that they've always done and what everybody's eating, and it's fine, except for that it's not fine. Everybody's gaining too much weight on this style of food that they're consuming. So adding in exercise and reducing sugary sodas, empty calories, and fatty things or and things like that tend to help everybody to sort of reach their more ideal weight. And so it's good not just for the kids, for parents to maybe look at their eating habits, but also for themselves. Then there are social influences that can contribute to obesity. For example, school lunches. Historically, up until probably 10 years ago, school lunches the focus was to be inexpensive, fill the children's tummies, palatable to the children so that they'd be willing to eat it. And then there was this big push to change what was in school lunches and make them more nutritious. And so school lunches started to have like a better balance of vegetables and proteins and fats relative to fiber and all these things that they were trying to balance. One of the problems is and has been that the children were rejecting the food. And so it's great to try and change the school lunches, but if they're going to reject the food, then you're going to have basically just waste, right? And so there has to be a balance of palatability for the children as well as healthfulness for the children. When I was in school back in the dark ages, there was this big discussion about whether ketchup counts as a vegetable, right? It is made of tomatoes, but tomato is not the number one ingredient on the ingredient list of ketchup. So the idea back then was, well, we want to make sure that the children are eating food because they need to be fueled for the afternoon. So we need to provide school lunches that they're willing to consume. But then on the other hand, we need to make sure that they're nutritious. And ultimately the decision was ketchup was not a vegetable. It does not count as a vegetable. So we've gotten sort of militant about school lunches in our society lately in efforts to try and get school cafeterias to produce food that is healthy for children. I know we had just a revamping of our nutritional system here in my household, and it was largely because my daughter and I found something online that gives you like recipes and your shopping list and your specific prep that you could do on Sunday. Like it breaks it all down for you really easily, and so she and I could work on it together. And it's kind of a no-brainer. Both of us work. We're both really busy, but we were able to like have dinner on the table. I only have to cook certain nights of the week because I have my husband and my son who live with me, but she has to cook every night. And so it was something we could do. And so we started following this program. And one of the biggest things that is different in this program is the addition of lots of different vegetables that we never, ever cooked with prior to being exposed to this program. And everybody in my family, the three of us who are living in my household, we've all lost weight on it. My daughter, who had started it when she was postpartum from her second child, got back to her pre-pregnancy weight really quickly as a result of this. So I really think that the addition of all these different vegetables and, some nights there's no animal protein and things like that. I think it's a real advantage and really has helped all of us to maintain our weight. And I thought I made healthful things. I mean, I have always cooked a lot of things from home and all these things. But to make it palatable for the two guys that I live with, I think some of it had too much fat. Really is probably the number one factor. Too much fat in the food that I was cooking just to make the boys happy. But the flavor and taste is good on the stuff that we're making. And so the boys have been willing to eat. The one thing my husband consistently rejects is cooked spinach. He pulls that out of whatever I make. But other than that, he's been pretty good. So I would like to argue that it might take a second for palates to change. And then school lunches can be altered in such a way that they're healthy and children are willing to accept them. Well, I wanted you to see something though, because I mentioned that we're getting a little militant about what's in school lunches, things like that. So I thought you might find this video from NPR kind of interesting, because this is, you can see in this picture all the stuff that's going to go into the hamburger that's being fed to the children. And so they were like, holy cow, like why is something blue and something pink going into this hamburger that the kids are going to eat? I think you'll find this a really interesting and enlightening video. So I'll see you on the other side.